Yesterday was the worst day I've had in my journey by far. Um, when I got done making the video, well, first of all, when I woke up yesterday morning, I already had problems. It was a very stressful day. There was things that were going on in the business that I had to fix, and yeah, I talked about it in last video, but I made the video yesterday after that, and then I went back home and when I first entered the door, I checked my phone. I didn't even go to the gym. I didn't do none of this because, I knew I had problems that I had to fix. And then, I entered my apartment door and, immediately heard a text. Boom. So, you know, opened up the phone, saw about three long messages from my virtual assistant talking about a huge influx in emails that morning. And I was like, oh no, what is going on? Because I knew it was gonna be something terrible, and I don't know if I just manifested this into happening, but I just knew it was gonna be something really bad that morning, and yeah, it was. I went in, checked some of the emails, and oh boy, I really messed up. I really messed up in terms of talking to my supplier, getting the right. I don't want to leak my product, but getting the right. Uh, just know I messed up, like in terms of the actual product that I sent out, and yeah, huge mistake. And there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails talking about refunds. They're terrible with the product. They're very dissatisfied, very disappointed, and a lot of these people were actually very much looking forward to this product. So I felt really bad. I felt really bad. So I called up the virtual assistant and I was like, "We got to handle these emails immediately. We got to get refunds on these customers immediately. We got to handle this right now." And yeah, it was very stressful. And you know so while I was on a call with my virtual assistant, I was literally helping her um, answer these emails because there were so many of them, and there was really only two of us, and I couldn't you know I probably could have just hired another virtual assistant, but I just wanted to handle the emails right now, right then. So yeah, for like 3 hours, I was on the call with my virtual assistant, and she was freaking panicking. I had to keep telling her it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. It was a very stressful time, and it was probably the hardest part of my journey I've had so far. And in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, "Oh man, I'm about to lose everything," because I was using some of this money from the orders to pay suppliers and pay money for my ads, and if I have to refund all these freaking customers, I'm gonna lose everything. So this kept going on in the back of my mind while my virtual assistant was panicking and stressed out, and I had to keep reminding her, "It's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this." And I felt so stressed out, but I also felt strong, like I was becoming a leader, and it was pretty cool, but it felt horrible at the same time. It's a very weird feeling, very mixed emotions there. But yeah, we finally got through to those emails, and shout out my virtual assistant. She pushed through and she fucking did that shit. Even though I pay her to do that, but still she was a soldier. And yeah, after that, you know, I closed my laptop. I was like, "Oh man, I'm done for today, man. I'm freaking done. There's no way I'm working today. I feel horrible." So I went to the bathroom, I turned off the lights and I just talked to God for a little bit. And during the prayer, I was telling him, "Oh man, God, if I did something wrong, please tell me. If I sinned, if I didn't work as hard as I needed to." And while I was saying all these things to God, I felt a huge amount of shame, and I just burst into the worst cry you, you'll ever hear in your life. And man, this is tough to even put on the internet, but this is my journey, so I'm gonna say it. It was the worst cry ever, and if you looked at it from the third person's point of view, it would it would actually be pitiful. I just curled into a ball in the bathroom floor, and I just let it out. And this was very powerful for me, because while I was bawling out like that, I felt him. I felt God come in, and that cry went from a cry of shame to a cry of love, and I could feel him hugging me. Literally, I could literally feel him hugging me. And I talked about in my last video about trusting God and believing in Him, and in this moment, I didn't trust Him, and I didn't believe in Him. And even though I was praying to Him, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, why are you doing this to me? Why? Just so many whys. But when I felt him hug me, I realized that this was definitely to build me, and this was definitely to, turn me into a stronger, more capable person, like I've been asking him to do in my prayers. God doesn't, he doesn't just make you suffer for no reason. There's always a reason behind the suffering, especially if you ask to become a stronger, more capable person, like I was doing every single day. And he finally showed me. And when he hugged me, when I felt him, I literally felt him hugging me. I realized that, oh yeah, this is definitely to build me into someone capable of accomplishing anything. And I got up, I thanked him, I was grateful towards him, but I still felt bad. I still felt stressed. It didn't just go away immediately, right? So, I went on my on my laptop, and I actually cried again on my laptop. I cried twice yesterday. I was feeling so bad. So even though I knew that God was doing this to protect me and to help me grow and to build me into the person that can get to that next level, I still, I still cried, and it still felt bad and still felt terrible. And in the back of my mind, I still had that, why, God, why are you doing this to me? But while I was doing that, I was kind of trying to shift it into what are you doing this for? How am I growing during this? And I got off from my desk, and I went to the living room couch, and I just looked at the sky for a little bit. I just looked at the beautiful sky, and I looked at God's beautiful world, and I kept telling myself over and over and over again, I am chosen. I am chosen. I am chosen. I am chosen. And that that made me get back up, saying that over and over and over again. I'm chosen. I'm chosen by God. I will be a millionaire. I'm chosen by God. Saying that over and over again helped me get back up and get back on my feet. And I was able to go and sit down on that desk and, make some ads, even though this is probably, because I'm in a huge pinch right now, because if I don't get a winning ad, because let me just tell you, the days before weren't the most profitable. They were they were actually really bad before this. So all this built up stress and anxiety was already kind of pent up. And that day, yesterday, it just boom blew up, and all the stress and anxiety I had, I let it out in my tears, like I said. And yeah, I'm just in a huge pinch right now, because if I don't get a winning ad, I can't fulfill the orders. I can't fulfill. I'm gonna have credit card debt due to my card running up from the ads, and it's probably the biggest pinch I've ever been in my life. And as I'm saying this right now, I don't feel all that stressed, because I just know that God is doing this to better me, and I'll become a much stronger, more capable person from this. What was I saying in my story? Yeah, I went back down, and on I sat on my desk. Not on my desk, but I sat sat on the chair on my desk. And I just had this drive to get a winning ad. I just had this drive to push through, keep going. get a winning ad. So I made a shit ton of static ads and shit ton of concepts. I did a ton of research, and it's not gonna happen in one day, but I got 1% better. And if I continuously get 1% better and just keep growing, then I'm gonna get it back. I'm gonna get the money back that I lost, and this is gonna be a great story in the future. When I'm a millionaire, man, this is gonna be a great story that I can tell. This will be a part of my journey, and this is just part of the process, and that's kind of how I'm looking at it right now. And it's crazy because 2 years ago, when I first started this, entrepreneurship, I would not have thought about this way. Because I remember, like, I had a huge problem with my supplier back then, and I lost everything. By everything, I mean like $800 that I made from Q4 when I was a beginner. And I just remember breaking down, crying, and I kind of did the same thing here, but it was different. Back then, it was hate. There was so much hate in the cry, so much screaming in it, so much agony in it, and this time it was different. There was love in it. So yeah, back then I had lost that $100. I was throwing a fit. I was throwing shit around in my room, and this was the start of the downfall in terms of my beginner journey, where I started to grow spite for God, grow spite for my family, because no one believed in me, and I didn't at the time. I didn't even know that God believed in me. It was tough, but yeah, I've become so much stronger since then, and I've been able to just grow as a person, and it's been a beautiful journey. It's been a beautiful journey. Even yesterday, it's all part of the story. Even though it's the worst day of my life, it's all part of the story. It's all part of my story, and I know I will make it out of it. I'll make it out of this, and in a month from now, you'll see a video of how I lost $100,000 and gained it all back or something like that. But yeah, that's what happened yesterday. It was the worst day of my life, but it turned into a day of just hope. I guess I don't know the word, but I guess it went from the worst day of my life to the best day of my life, because I knew that I was going to grow, and I knew that this was a shift that was going to happen. But yeah, other than that, that's all for me, guys. If you guys are out there, you're going through tough times, just know, have faith in them, have faith in God. And I know it can be very hard. It was very hard for me yesterday. But sometimes you can just let it all out on him, and he'll still love you. You can say the worst things about him, and he will still love you. So he's always there for you. Remember that, and stay strong, guys. Stay strong. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, my name is Josh. I'll be documenting myself every single day until I become a millionaire through e-commerce. And yeah, hopefully you guys are having an amazing day, and I'm out of here. Peace.